Now over the last 2 years I have found some of the most outrageous deals on Facebook, Gumtree and eBay when it comes to golf clubs. The question I'm asking myself today though is, was it that person's to sell in the first place? Guys, how you doing? Welcome back to a brand new video. It's Simon down here at Sanford Springs Golf Club. This was going to be a completely different video, quite specialist equipment behind me, and I'll explain why. I can tell a lot about a person and their golf game and the golfer itself just by looking at someone's bag or equipment itself. And to be honest, I didn't think anything of it. I just thought, again, brilliant, found a great deal, show you guys, show the equipment, upsides, downsides, everything else, until I had a lesson this morning where he mentioned a local golf club, pro shop, had essentially a load of demo equipment stolen. It wasn't this, but we'll get into that, as any information that I can get from my local golf club would be a bonus. So then it got me thinking, the amazing deals that I've got over the last 2 years, it'd be quite naive of me to think that actually maybe I have bought something that had been stolen or been nicked, or the person shouldn't have been selling what they were selling, which probably makes me think going forward I will have to do a bit more questioning in the equipment that I am buying to be somewhat ethical, as stolen golf clubs is very much a thing. And especially being an assistant over the last 10 years, it was so common every couple of months to hear pro shops broken into, change rooms broken into, cars broken into, stuff that's basically nicked out of pro shops every now and again, because it's very valuable equipment and it's so easy nowadays to offload it quickly. Set up a profile picture, set up a name, go on Facebook Marketplace, you'll have it sold within a couple of hours. Someone will come and collect it from you and give you cash, which again, reiterate what I said at the start of this, I'm probably going to be a bit more careful going forward, as now I look back at a few of the deals, they were somewhat suspect. I'm not saying this is stolen by any stretch of the imagination, but I probably need to be a bit more careful going forward. Now I will tell you the story about my local golf club. I won't say which one, but my local golf club in my area has had 3 Callaway Epic Speed heads essentially just nicked from their club fitting room, and the assistant was behind the desk speaking to another customer. 2 people walked in, I believe a man and a woman, in COVID masks, which makes sense because obviously you go into a confined area, people obviously want to cover their face. They looked around a bit, they just essentially just strolled around the corner where the club fitting studio is, picked up 3 Epic Speed Callaway heads, and then just walked straight out. So if you do see a Callaway Epic Speed head for £150, £180 on Facebook Marketplace or Gumtree, then it more than likely is stolen. So let me show you what I have left of this listing behind me, because normally what happens is I go and get a deal, I then get home or go to make the video, I then go back through my messages, go into the listing, screen record it, go through the images. However, this time I can't do that because the listing has been removed, which is a bit weird. Most people just put sold and then they don't get bothered anymore, i.e. people don't message them, but this one has actually been removed altogether from the marketplace, which isn't necessarily condemning, but is somewhat strange. And as I fill you in with the bag that I have behind me and the equipment that I have as well, and the condition and the specs as well, it just didn't quite add up to the conversation that I had when I got there. So £280 for the entire contents of this bag. Obviously that's my golf bag, that's just obviously hold the golf club, so obviously I can explain what we're about to have a look at. But M1 driver, M1 fairway, M1 rescue, Great Big Bertha 815 Alpha and TaylorMade SLDR driver, plus a TP rescue. Now this was sold by a lady on Facebook, and that's not to be sexist, but as you look at the set makeup as we go through the bag, this is an extremely advanced golfer. I struggled to get this ball airborne. We're talking 120 mile/h clubhead speed plus easily. X-Flex in all the woods. Not only that, 430, which is the smaller head design, 10.5 degree head. And when I say the immaculate condition of these clubs, they are immaculate. I essentially hardly used. I'm trying to think now if I've seen an M1 or a driver. I mean, the driver's somewhat incredible. The fact the hybrid and the wood hasn't been used or hardly used at all, which you'll see in a minute, I don't think I've ever seen better condition. Now the reason that this was interesting is that when I actually went and picked up the golf clubs themselves, even though the lady that I spoke to was very nice, it wasn't actually the lady that I met. I met another gentleman who didn't know much about golf. Now, normally when I go and pick up golf clubs, which I imagine a lot of you do if you watch my videos, is that normally you have a conversation. Oh, do you play golf? How long have you been playing? They normally ask what I do. I explain that I make YouTube videos on second-hand golf clubs, explain that actually there's a lot of value in older golf clubs, and that I teach, and that I've been doing X, Y, and Z, play around Newbury, have a bit of a conversation. There wasn't much conversation when it came to these clubs with the gentleman that I spoke to, i.e., here's the money, here's the clubs. We didn't actually meet at the house itself. We actually met outside a block of flats, which these were under, now I look back at it, a street lamp rested there for me to obviously come and collect, and I gave the gentleman the money. But now, as I said, I can tell a lot about someone, about their golf clubs. And as I said at the start, the person that used or built these golf clubs was a very good golfer. X-Flex Fubuki shaft, M1 head, M1 430 head. This is a low spin monster of a collection of clubs when it comes to TaylorMade. I don't think realistically, apart from the M5, there's anything that's been as low spinning. I remember these coming out when I was assistant. I could not get these airborne to save my life. You have to be incredibly hard hitter of the golf ball. Again, the story kind of makes sense with the typical golfer that would have these in the bag. X-Flex, XT60 shafts, and again, monster of a driver head. Big Bertha Alpha 815. And again, I can't stress to you, I haven't seen clubs of this age, we're talking 5-6 years for everything around here, that have been in this good condition. I mean, these are flawless. Whoever looked after these knew what they were doing. And another fan favorite when it comes into the long ball arsenal at SLDR 9.5 degree driver, again in flawless condition. And as I say, normally when I go and have a conversation with someone that has this much knowledge of the game, easily single figure handicapper, unless someone just loved spending money on stiff shafts that they couldn't use. Normally, if you spent this much money on equipment, built the clubs obviously to a very particular specification with very different shafts and heads and combinations, you're going to chat a bit about who's buying your golf clubs. Where do they play? Who do they play with? What handicap do they play off? What courses do they play? And then you normally have a bit of toing and throwing, and I'm sure a lot of you have had this in the past. Now, the reason that this is the only one that I've kind of been suspect about is because that's a conversation I normally have. Don't get me wrong, some people sell their husband's golf equipment, or some people sell their grandparents' golf equipment, or sometimes people don't actually know what the eBay situation is, or how expensive golf clubs are going for. But then you normally have a conversation with a person, they say, oh, I'm selling this on behalf of this person, or I'm selling this due to getting some space in my garage. As I say, I didn't really have much conversation with the gentleman that was selling these clubs, nor did he really mind who I was that was buying them. And Facebook's an extremely easy place now to offload not only golf clubs, I guess, but I guess anything that just needs no trace, cash collection and everything else. And don't get me wrong, I love Facebook. I think it's one of the best places, especially for golf, and the sooner that this can all go back to normal, because even though I spent £280 on this, which is a great deal, I mean, let's be honest, £500 worth of equipment. But next year, which will be coming up this week in predictions, they're going to all go back to £200. That's going to be 50 quid. That's going to be 50 pounds. This is going to be 40. So realistically, that whole lot there is going to be back down to £300 or closer to that 280 mark, which obviously I paid today, which is going to be great, which means that there's not going to be high demand of second-hand golf clubs. And again, I can't confirm that these were stolen, hence why I've left no names and the place that I bought these from, because I don't want to be throwing accusations left, right and centre. But for someone that obviously was this good at the game, looked after these clubs immaculately, like Hardy, I can't believe these ever touched a golf course. You would have known what these were worth. And if you couldn't be bothered to sell them on Facebook and eBay, which don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people that play this game to a very high level and can't be bothered to pack, sell individually, wait around for someone to come and pick them up at 8 o'clock in the evening, etc. You'd send them to Golf Bidder, or you'd give them to your Golf Pro and trade them in for something else. Or you would go down the route of selling the driver for 120, 3-wood for 100, hybrid for 80, driver for 100, driver for 100, rescue at the bottom for 50, especially in today's market. That's why it just seemed a bit strange. this whole set doesn't really make much sense to me now I look at it. Now, golf club equipment has always been expensive, and obviously that's why, as being an assistant over the last 10 years, I've always heard of golf club equipment being nicked from shops, especially the brand new stuff. But I imagine words got around, as you probably all found, whether it's Facebook or eBay or even Gumtree, you name it, a lot more people will realise over the last year exactly how much worth old golf club equipment is. I mean, when you realise stuff that's even 5-6 years old is worth £200, £220 just for a driver, it does put it on quite a few people's hit list. And again, and I do feel, especially over next year, when demand doesn't keep growing like it is, we're going to see a lot of people that spend a lot of money this year on equipment potentially not love the game or not have the time for the game going on, which means that all the second-hand club prices will be dropped. And I will be doing a video on this very soon, as I don't think the prices of second-hand golf club equipment is going to stay at all-time high, which hopefully puts a demand on potentially less people going and nicking it. So guys, quick video today. As I say, there's not really much advice I can give, but if you do so happen to lose your golf clubs, I highly suggest scouring Facebook in your local area over the week that they did go missing, because I imagine they would pop up quite quickly. Alternatively, message me that you've had the club stolen in your area, because I scour Facebook more than the average man. If you like this video, leave it a like. Subscribe if you are new. Catch you guys later.
Morning Tom, hope you're doing well.
Afternoon mate, well done on the lesson. And evening Alan, not a problem at all. And testing the G30s and the afternoon gents, on my way to the lockup. Go pick up the Mura Iron.